So LA Knight pushed Jey Uso at the start of Raw, where we did our usual here come the wrestlers turning up to the building. So this was very intense stuff, but it was also weird, because we cut to Stephanie Vaquer, and she was texting in a parking lot, kind of looking at all the cars as if she was about to case the place. Anyway, Pearce didn't enjoy that LA Knight had pushed another man. He was a bit like the headmaster at a school, or the principal, I should say. So he was like, both of you need to come to my office, and if you notice a few zeros disappearing from your paycheck, it's because I fined you. So he was paying them a threat. Also, well, my friends, welcome to Ups and Downs, the only professional wrestling show you need, because I watch sports entertainment, so you don't have to. And given that WWE did give us Monday Night Raw, that's what we're going to look at today. But I'm not entirely sure it was a new episode of Raw, because the ending was exactly the same. Somebody call Bill Murray. Let's up those downs. I didn't really have a good laugh because John Cena came to the ring. And of course, Brock Lesnar had turned up on SmackDown looking for John, whereas it had been advertised that Cena was going to be on Raw. Meaning, Brock had gone to the wrong show. This is the kind of storyline I need. Especially because when it comes to John Cena versus Brock Lesnar for WrestlePalooza, there's actually no story at all. John also told us a story about being an offensive lineman at Springfield College, which was just down the road from where Raw was, and that taught him how to be a WWE superstar, because if you are an offensive linesman, you just get your ass kicked over and over again. There is no, pomp and circumstance, which is a lot like being a WWE superstar. I was like, wait a minute, you get a lot of pomp and circumstance being a WWE superstar. I mean, that's all it is. He also said happy birthday to his niece who wasn't able to be here this evening, so that was very nice. When he was like, I know Brock Lesnar's deal. He wants to end the last real world champion. That's a very difficult sentence to say. He also said that Brock Lesnar is basically invincible, and ever since he has come back, he has targeted John Cena. But given that he is John Cena, he could have said no, but he doesn't wage his battles in the back. He wages them in the ring. And listen, even though he's scared of Brock Lesnar, he's been to Suplex City. Damn it, he built the place. So when it comes to Saturday night, he's ready to fight him again. He then basically explained what it meant to be the last real world champion, and that it is that you don't run home, you don't take your ball and go home, and you do sort of have hustle, loyalty, and respect. And I was like, well, Cody Rhodes, he's a WWE champion, and he doesn't take his ball and go home either. So I still don't really know what this means. Basically, it doesn't work as a face. Cena then got screwed by the pay-per-view name because he had to say two Titans are going to wrestle at WrestlePalooza. It just doesn't work, man. And whenever you say it, you sound a bit like a Teletubby. He also saw a sign in the crowd that said John Cena's jorts are stronger than Brock Lesnar's pants, because of course Brock Lesnar had torn his clothes on SmackDown. Essentially, John Cena then gave the crowd a salute and he walked away. Now listen, I'm going to give it up for John Cena, especially because he was so over here, it made you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. But it's a down for the story. I doubt we're going to get much more on SmackDown, maybe a big video package. So really, there is no narrative here. There is no angle. WWE just went, well, Brock Lesnar, he's a big name. John Cena, he's a big name. We need a big name for WrestlePalooza. Let's just do it. Now, it's not Cena's fault at all, because he did as much as he could, but we needed Brock over here, and we needed Johnny Boy over here in a ring so they could talk to each other, and Lesnar could have told us his intentions. Instead, we got absolutely nothing. That's why it's getting it down. Like WWE last year was so good because everybody had a big promo off. Now it's just vanished into the abyss. Pearce was then yelling at Jey Uso and LA Knight when he did that thing he always does. He was like, aha, I've just realized I don't have a main event for this evening. So LA Knight, you can take on Bronson, Reed and Bron Breakker and you get to choose your partner. And of course, LA Knight looked right at Jey Uso and went, I'm going to pick Jimmy. And Jimbo wasn't even here, so that felt most unfair. But mostly, put a 1 on the general manager of WWE doesn't have a cardboard, whatever we were calling about it, because once again, it is a general manager deciding on his main event after the show had begun. How does that make any sense? And if this hadn't have happened, well, what would have Adam have done? Like, he got all mad at the pushing, you should have been over the moon. It gave you a headliner for stupid Monday Night Raw. We then got Lyra Valkyria versus Roxanne Perez after Raquel Rodriguez had beaten Lyra last week. And of course Raquel here tried to get involved, put one on the dick board. But finally, and this rarely happens these days, the referee saw Rodriguez doing this and says, you can't make a mug out of me, you got to go to the back. And she did. What a polite heel. It definitely helped because Lyra then started fighting back before Roxanne took her out with a knee to the jaw. She applied the crossface. When Valkyria stood up using her strength, she hit the Night Wing. Got the 1, 2, 3. That was that. Nice and easy. I was like, you know what, I'm fine with it. Of course, Raquel Rodriguez was back out too to beat the living hell out of Lyra Valkyria when Bayley finally decided, you know what, I'm going to stop making weird videos and I am going to help Lyra Valkyria. And she did do this. And then, from nowhere, she started hugging everybody, including the commentators, and Alicia Taylor as well, and Lyra Valkyria. Lyra Valkyria had to stand there like this. She had to sell it like a ghost had made the save. Although at the end of the day, as long as you stop getting beaten up, who cares? It's like Casper. Bayley looked really good as well, and the crowd went mad for this, which made it all the better. And let's just hope the WWE does actually push Bayley for once. Although there is more to this character later and we'll get there. But in terms of ticking off the gimmicks, this was her doing the hugging thing. Corey Graves had a meltdown. He was all like, I've not seen her do a cuddle for years. I was like, Corey Graves, that's a weird thing to say. It makes you sound a little bit like a stalker. But I am going to give it an up. It was a good match. I presume we will do the tag team bout eventually. But just having Bayley back on the show, especially as an absolute schizophrenic, well, I think it could go quite well. Adam Pearce then made Io Sky and Stephanie Vaquer official for the weekend. This has been the strangest build ever. Like, Vaquer wasn't on the show last week, then she popped up in NXT, and here we didn't do a contract signing, and we just said, well, you may as well fight at WrestlePalooza. Of course, Asuka then stormed in, dragging Kairi Sane with her. She said to Stephanie, you are not ready. And actually, to be fair, given what has happened the last few weeks, she may be right. Everybody then fell out when Asuka was like, listen, you're going to take on Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane's face here was hilarious when Adam Pearce made the match. Put another one on that stupid board thing. Like, what would Adam Pearce do if wrestlers didn't fall out during Raw? He would literally have no show, and he'd have to come out and like start telling jokes. Like, hello everybody, do you know why they say a wrestling ring is so cold? Because we have too many fans. That's a terrible joke. If he hadn't done that, everyone would have gone boo. They would have been saying boo words. Asuka is so funny in this role though, so more power to her. When LA Knight found Big Jim, he was like, Jimmy Uso, I've got good news for you. You're gonna be my tag team partner later. Jimmy was like, I'm not doing that. Have you seen how difficult my family is? You think I want to bring more stress into my life? You go away, La. I want nothing to do with this. The New Day then continued on their quest to get the Mexican Destroyer banned. I think they called Adam Pearce a tyrant, which made me laugh. When we did actually have Kofi Kingston versus Penta, I thought this was a very fun, entertaining match. There was distraction instantly, because of course Xavier Woods and Grace Waller on the outside, so I put a 1 on the dick board, which I should have done in the first match. I think I did, I can't remember, I'm a stupid man. And the best part of all of this is because they were in Springfield, so Xavier started shouting, maybe I'll go to Shelbyville. We do not appreciate that, man, and we do not appreciate the New Day overall. They are one of the GOAT tag teams, man, and they've been doing it for over a decade. He, of course, also distracted the referee again later when Penta was finding his feet. So poor Grayson Waller got it in the face when it looked like Kofi Kingston was going to win, but instead Penta hit this awesome springboard Mexican Destroyer, and he just got the 1, 2, 3. That was nice. He got his revenge, because over the last few weeks he has been murked. At this point too, I was like, well, who are going to be Penta's new best friends? Because we're going to have to do the 6-man tag eventually. I thought it was going to be Andrade and Phoenix, but I was totally wrong. But you shall find out later. But I am going to give it an up. Like I say, it just did what it had to do. But I am going to get back to those distractions later. If you watch me, you know they have become my pet peeve. Jimmy then saw Jey Uso on the phone. The big question was, who was he talking to? And it was most definitely Roman Reigns, who was getting in his head and manipulating him again, when Jey Uso just broke down going, I can't believe you're teaming with LA Knight. And Jimmy was like, I'm not. I said, no, you absolute goober. And also, you need to calm down with this attitude. I don't see an Ula Fala around your neck, so maybe you should stop bossing me around. Now, Jey Uso kind of understood this, but he's still slipping into the dark side, and it went so bad for him, because Jimmy Uso decided to be a little bit petty, because he then found LA Knight and said, you know what, I will team with you, because no one tells Jimmy Uso what to do. That kind of rhymes, so it must be true. I really do like what we're doing with Jey Uso, though, because as cool as his entrance pops are, you can't continually do that forever. So for WWE just to shake things up a little bit, well, it makes me more intrigued, it makes me more excited. I just want to see where it's going to go. When I tuned, we got to the segment that most people were excited for: Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, AJ Lee, and CM Punk. I do believe in some quarters of the world it's still going on, because it was very, very long. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch came out first to their own individual entrances, and Seth was all like, oh my gosh, I'm Seth frickin' Rollins, and Becky Lynch was all like, oh, I'm Becky frickin' Lynch, which means as well as taking Seth's last name, I presume that she took his nicknames too. mean, all is fair is love and war and weddings. Eventually, CM Punk and AJ Lee interrupted them and they came out to one theme song, which is AJ Lee's. CM Punk made this clear instantly. Such a weird insult. It was like, man, we had to hear both your goofy songs, but I was happy not to come out to Cult of Personality. It's like, it's an argument in the playground. Seth Rollins then jumped in and said, listen, Mr. Punk, quite clearly AJ Lee in terms of your personal life is one of the best decisions you've ever made, but when it comes to your professional side of things, you have made a terrible mistake. AJ then jumped in and said, you better shut up, Seth, because actually you two that's gonna regret it. I didn't even want to get involved, but it was your wife that started slapping around my man, and I can't stay at home and watch that and not do anything. Lynch then called Punk irresponsible, reminded him he only cares about three things: himself, Seth Rollins' world title, and AJ Lee. I think that was meant to be an insult. I was like, well, that seems kind of fair. Don't see what the problem is. Becky also admitted that she had read AJ Lee's book and it's great to know that she is doing better mentally, but what about physically? Because you had a bad neck and you're about to walk into this ring for the first time in 10 years with the best to ever do it. So if I were you, I'd be super duper worried. And you too, Punk, because this is going to be on your head. Becky is so damn good at the moment because she comes across as unhinged. And AJ was in like, well, you know, I don't want to be that guy, but while I appreciate you reading my book, I didn't even look at yours. What a mean shot. Ultimately, though, back in the day, she was able to become a two-time champion, even though she had a bad neck, so I'm pretty sure she can do it again. When she was like, I'm a Puerto Rican from New Jersey, so maybe I'll just shank you. I've done it before. So, put a one on the crime counter. Just to summarize, in case you don't know, she just threatened to kill Becky Lynch. Rollins then cracked up because they can handle AJ Lee, and it's AJ Lee that should be worried, because look who your tag team partner is, a guy that runs away every single time the going gets tough. So, of course, Lee slapped Seth right around the face. And this was absolutely brilliant because Seth Rollins became CM Punk for a couple of weeks ago. He was like, I'm never going to hit a woman, but I do have somebody who will. Becky was like, well, I don't want to do it. Why are you looking at me? These two together are brilliant. While it's awesome to see CM Punk and AJ Lee back together for obvious reasons, in terms of people that make me laugh out loud, I'm giving it to Seth and Bex. Lynch also walked off here as it acted like it had all gone bad, but of course it was a plan, it was a ruse, so as soon as they could, they attacked CM Punk and AJ Lee, and actually Becky Lynch laid her out with the manhandle slam, which probably does tie into WrestlePalooza. I think Becky Lynch will lose to AJ Lee in that match, and then you can go right into the Intercontinental title feud. It also means that Punk and Rollins can go back doing whatever the flub they were going to do. This just feels like a little bit of a detour. And while this was good, and I am going to give it an up because it was just entertaining, there was something about it that didn't really reach the expectations I did have. But maybe that was on me. I mean, what else were they going to do? It does have so much momentum, though, it could probably main event the thing, although I think that is going to be Brock versus Cena. So yeah, in terms of things happening and looking at the personal side of wrestling, you have to assume that everybody in this is just over the moon. I mean, it's basically go to work with your spouse day, and they're having the best time. Up. Dominik Mysterio then cut an interview saying, listen, I am the AAA Mega Champion and I am the Intercontinental Champion, so push your hands together, I'm the Mega Intercontinental Champion, which does sound cool. But in the background, the New Day were about to beat up Penta when it was the War Raiders who chased them off, so there is your six-man tag. There was a side of me that was like, man, this poor Raw tag team scene, it is absolutely done. But it was El Grande Americano versus Dragon Lee, as obviously Dragon wanted to get some revenge. And also, what an amazing match this was. It was a cup of coffee taking on a mythical creature. Lee also did this crazy dive early on as both guys crashed into alley announce tables to put a one on the dive counter when El Grande was trying to rip his mask off using the ropes. That is exactly what Kofi Kingston did in the earlier match against Penta. Now listen, I'm completely speculating here, but this may sort of tie into the overall issues with WWE right now. They do a lot of copy and pasting. The Dragon then came back with a Liger Bomb for a 1-2 when El Grande Americano Numero 2 turned up, who I think is Pete Dunne. Poor Dragon Lee was trying to fight all these guys off, but it was totally for naught. I mean, AJ Styles came out to try and stop this, but that didn't work either, because much like a gremlin after midnight, we then had another El Grande Americano, which is technically 3, but Chad Gable was also El Grande, so actually there's 4. Now, I think it was the second one that eventually pushed Dragon Lee off the ropes. The whole point is put a 1 on the dick board when the first El Grande Americano applied that gnarly submission and he got the tap out victory. So Dragon Lee had just lost again. Now I want to make it very clear. This match was brilliant, and I actually think Ludwig Kaiser out of Americano is better than Chad Gable, so I'm definitely giving it up and you should watch it, but there is just too many distractions on Raw, and of course it happened in a main event, although in a roundabout way, I'm giving it a down. I just want a little bit more creativity, otherwise it does go back to the intro. Raw does kind of start to feel the same. Now I do want to shout out all the Americanos because they did the Spider-Man meme afterwards, so there is something to this, but you probably do need to develop the story a little bit, and sometime soon, otherwise it just gets a little bit confusing, and it's just a bunch of dudes running around in masks pretending to be Mexican. I mean, that ain't normal behavior. Lyra Valkyria was then going to talk to Bayley for obvious reasons. When outside her locker room, she just heard Bayley having an argument when she walked in, and Bayley was sat there calmly on the couch. Lyra was then a little bit like, well, I just want to thank you for helping me earlier. And Bayley went nuts and essentially became her ding-dong hello character. She was like, oh man, you did knock, I can't believe you did this. Never talk to me again. Once again, poor Lyra Valkyria was directed to pull the silliest facial expression of all time. But I like this a lot. It is kind of mugging Lyra Valkyria off because she should be so mad at Bayley because she cost her her Intercontinental title shot. But entertainment is entertainment, and I'm very sports entertained. I want to see where it goes. Rhea Ripley also found Stephanie Vaquer after this and said, listen, when you do have your match this weekend, whoever is the winner I'm going after. My hand went up. I was like, wait a minute. 2 weeks ago, you told me you wanted to earn your title shot, so why has it changed? And also, I'm giving it a down because Rhea Ripley is one of the biggest stars in all of WWE, and this is like the third or maybe even the fourth week in a row where she doesn't do anything in front of the fans, which seems crazy to me. Now, listen, so many things have happened recently in WWE and AEW where you learn after the fact, well, that makes sense. But at the moment, we don't know. Hope she's not injured or anything, but when you have somebody like Rhea Ripley, at the very least, she should be cutting promos. I don't get it. When we did get Kairi Sane versus Stephanie Vaquer, which must be Vaquer's first match on Raw in ages, and of course it was super duper good. They're both very, very talented wrestlers. Kairi decided as well she didn't want to suffer the devil's kiss, so she reversed that into the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment surprise roll-up, but she only got a 1-2 ooh. And she also killed Stephanie with a stomp, so Vaquer came back with a dragon screw. Sane was so damn worried about this, she ran into the arms of Asuka, so Stephanie Vaquer did a big dive onto both of them, to put a while on the dive counter. When really, well, that was the end. Kairi Sane got back in the ring, Stephanie hit the devil's kiss, she got the SVB, which between you and me doesn't really work as a finisher, but she did get the 1-2-3. This makes sense, she is the #1 contender, she should be going into WrestlePalooza looking as strong as possible. Asuka was going to punch Stephanie right in the face as well, but Io Sky basically came out to make the save, and these two had an argument backstage as well, with Asuka being like, we are going to help you on Saturday, and he was like, no, I don't want your help, but it certainly seems like Asuka's going to do it anyway, and that will probably be the finish. The Kabuki Warriors will accidentally screw over Io, Stephanie Vaquer will become the champion, and then you can go into all the Io Sky versus Asuka stuff, which will probably be quite good. But going back to the match, I am going to give it an up, but also bring Asuka into that as well. This new character is absolutely hilarious. Judgment Day were then celebrating Dominik Mysterio's win, and Finn Balor has to be the most underrated guy in WWE right now, because JD McDonagh had poured him a beer. There was too much head, so Finn just looked so pissed off. And he was mad at Dom. Why do you keep hanging around with El Grande Americano? Dom tried to make it clear that it's not a big deal and people just want to hang out with the greatest luchador of all time. When Balor was like, all right, fine, but from now on, maybe we won't help you anymore in your matches. And I was like, well, that's not a massive threat. Usually you don't help anyway. This is actually very funny though, but yes, we do need to pull the trigger on it a little bit because it is becoming a bit samey. When Rusev, of all people, after what Finn Balor just said, walked up to Dominik Mysterio and was like, I am going to face you for that Intercontinental title. And man, I did a backflip. Those are the kind of matches I want to see. It will be flubbing great. When we did get to the ultimate Groundhog Day of the evening, because it was our main event, Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed versus LA Knight versus Jey Uso, and let's just cut right to the end, because it finished in exactly the same way as all 2025 Raws do. Now we did get some stuff, a Big Jim tagging himself in because he doesn't care about this guy, and we got a dive, so put a 1 on the dive counter, but essentially, Jey Uso climbed to the top rope, LA Knight got killed on the outside by Bron Breakker. When Bron Breakker was on the ring apron, he was tussling with Jey Uso, and Jey Uso was like, stop tussling with me. When essentially, he went right into the jagged edge, Bronson Reed's new finisher, and he just beat him for the 1, 2, 3, and then what did the Vision do? They beat the living hell out of them, because that's just what they do. Now eventually Jey Uso came out to make the save, and LA Knight had a chair, and they looked at each other like, how dare you hit me? And they were like, I'm not going to hit you. When Jey Uso made a terrible mistake, he went to shake LA Knight's hand, and what did LA Knight do? He dropped him with the BFT. Now one, it's not a heel turn. He was giving him a receipt for last week, but also two, next week Jey can be like, well now I'm super mad, and I super hate you, because I actually tried to do the right thing, and what Roman Reigns said was true, yeah, drop me on my ass. I am going to give it up for the Jey Uso stuff, because again, it's really well done, but the match has to get it down, and it's not even these four individuals' fault. It's just the same old thing. Division beats people up, and then we get some kind of shenanigans with Jey Uso and LA Knight, and that stuff is good, but we just should have found another way to get there. You don't need to do the same angle week after week after week. And the crazy thing is that Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker are winning matches, but they feel like background players here. I mean, that is most definitely 2 + 2 = potato. So we just need to kick up a tuchus, and we just need to do something different. But this week's episode of Raw was another one where it's just fine. But do you actually need to watch it? I would probably seek out some highlights instead. But I give it like a thumb up. But look, you see how it's at a cricket angle? Well, that's a proper up. This one is like here. Just how I feel about it at the moment. WWE just needs a spark from somewhere. Now listen, I could be totally wrong about this, so please do let me know what you thought about Raw in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. If you would like to know why I did not like SmackDown this week, you can click it on the screen. But otherwise, my friends, always remember that wrestling is the most important of the least important things. And if you enjoyed it, that's what matters the most. See you soon.